One of the questions is, when did it become normal for us in the media, for those of us in the media, for the news, as it were, to start showing both sides of a story where one side of the story was the criminal himself presenting his case? And to do so not in a way like, well, okay, the criminal says he didn't do it, but rather, here's the criminal with his rationale. Maybe you should take this seriously. In my opinion, this started during the Reagan administration. I could be wrong, but it seems to me that the beginning of this whole process was Ollie North. Ollie North destroyed, the Congress passed this amendment called the Boland Amendment, which made it a crime, a go-to-prison crime, for Ronald Reagan or anybody in his administration to ship weapons or use any kind of federal funds at all to ship weapons or any other type of material support to the Contras in Nicaragua, to the right-wing death squads in Nicaragua and El Salvador and Guatemala. The Boland Amendment makes it very clear you can't do that. Well, Ollie North went ahead and did it. He sold weapons of destruction, weapons of war, killing devices to Iran because their military was mostly American-made. The Shah of Iran had bought it all. This was just a year or two after the Shah fell. He sold spare parts and weapons to Iran. Iran gave him money. He did not put that money on deposit with the United States Treasury. Instead, he took that money and he gave it to gun runners and said, here, smuggle these guns down to South America. The gun runners got the weapons down to Nicaragua, Guatemala, El Salvador, and swapped the guns for drugs, which were very cheap, brought the drugs back to the United States and sold them like crazy in the United States. And suddenly in the 80s, we had this crack epidemic. Ollie North went before Congress and said, yes, I did it. And I'm proud of it. I was serving my country. I was fighting communism. Now, it's not quite as compelling as I was fighting the guys who made people jump out of the 121st floor of the World Trade Center to their death. I mean, fighting communism is more of an abstraction. There hadn't been a communist blowing up a building in the United States since God only knows who. I wouldn't even say that the Weather Underground were communists. I mean, they were just whatever they were. But this was according to his sworn testimony. I mean, he testified under oath before Congress and said that he was coordinating the illegal and covert sales of weapons to Nicaragua and then moving that money via weapons to Nicaragua. It was completely illegal. He was doing it through a business that was owned by Richard Secord, a retired Air Force Major General. In May of 1996... This is from Rotten.com. In May of 1996, Secord stuffed $200,000 in a Swiss bank account earmarked for tuition fees for Ollie's children. The previous year, Secord had handed Ollie thousands in cash. At trial, Oliver North had a hard time explaining how he'd managed to save up the $15,000 that he found in his closet, or the two separate cash payments for a $9,500 used car after visiting Secord, or the $4,300 in traveler's checks he had that he used to spend on gas, groceries, and other things for himself. And the jury found him guilty of 2 felonies, lying to Congress and shredding official documents. And then he went on TV, and he started portraying his side of the story. I wasn't a bad guy. I was a patriot. And now he's on Fox. Which is where no doubt Dick Cheney will be. Well, Dick Cheney is half the time. And half his family. We have normalized, and we haven't gone, well, I was going to say we haven't gone so far as having, child rapists on telling their side of the story. But in a way, which is worse? Raping one child or killing 100,000 people? They're both pretty awful. Or torturing people until they die. It's all pretty awful. And therefore, we don't put people on television. We don't give people a platform to justify crimes. Article 6 of the Constitution, the second sentence of Article 6 of the Constitution, says that treaties we sign are equal to the Constitution itself in terms of the law of the land. It's as if you had passed a law. When you sign a treaty, it's as if you passed a law. In Article 6 says this Constitution and the laws of the United States shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Now, we've signed a treaty against torture. It's the law of the land. Dick Cheney's a criminal, and he was put on television. I don't get it. Do you?